Let the River Flow is a poignant historical drama rooted in the real-life struggles of the Sami people in Norway during the late 1970s and early 1980s, spotlighting their fight for rights and cultural identity amidst governmental oppression. The narrative centers on Ester, a young Sami woman who has concealed her indigenous heritage to assimilate into mainstream Norwegian society. Her return to Alta coincides with a major hydroelectric dam project that poses a severe threat to vital Sami territories, igniting widespread protests among her community. Initially reluctant to engage, Ester gets swept up in the vibrant resistance movement led by committed activists intent on preserving their land and way of life. As she reacquaints herself with her roots and grapples with the societal pressures that have conditioned her shame about her identity, Ester's internal conflict intensifies. With the support of her cousin Mikael and fellow protesters, she gradually reconnects with her Sami heritage, finding empowerment in the solidarity and resilience of her people. The film vividly captures the escalating tensions between the Sami protesters and government authorities, who are determined to dismantle their camps and silence their dissenting voices. Despite facing arrests, threats, and conflicts within the resistance, the Sami people persist in their efforts, employing peaceful protests, hunger strikes, and traditional songs as means to amplify their demands for justice. Ester's journey evolves into a deep exploration of self-discovery and bravery, revealing that the fight for the river signifies far more than protecting land. It's integral to sustaining their cultural identity and way of existence. Through emotional confrontations with family, poignant flashbacks to her father's struggles, and the collective spirit of the activist movement, Ester emerges as a powerful symbol of resilience, embodying the determination to let both the river and her people flow freely. As the narrative unfolds, the film culminates in a climactic confrontation between the protesters and police, wherein Ester steps forward as a leader in the resistance. This stirring climax demonstrates the protesters' unwavering determination, forcing the Norwegian government to reconsider the controversial dam project, thereby signaling a hopeful prospect for Sami rights and recognition. In essence, Let the River Flow stands as a touching tribute to indigenous resilience, richly exploring themes of identity, heritage, and the enduring power of community in the face of adversity, highlighting the importance of standing up for one's cultural legacy. At the beginning of her journey, Ester grapples with a deep conflict regarding her identity, having absorbed the shame and discrimination that the Sami community experiences. Her internal struggle is sparked when she reconnects with her cousin Mikael and a group of Sami activists. Through this reconnection, Ester starts to confront her heritage and recognizes the significance of advocating for her people. As protests against the dam construction become more vigorous, Ester finds herself caught between her aspiration for a stable life and the inescapable pull of her cultural roots. The Sami community, alongside environmental activists, mobilizes to stage protests and demonstrations aimed at preserving their land and lifestyle. What initially begins as peaceful resistance evolves into a robust movement, garnering national attention through hunger strikes and blockades at construction sites. Ester's involvement escalates, presenting her with challenges not just from external authorities but also from her doubts about fitting into the struggle. As she becomes more engrossed in the Alta River Dam project protests, her initial curiosity transforms into a personal mission. Each day, Ester participates in protest meetings, contributes to logistic planning, and learns about the history of resistance from the elders. Their wisdom and resilience leave a lasting impression on her, deepening her connection to her roots. Despite her increasing dedication, Ester feels the shadow of fear following her, a fear of standing out and embracing the part of herself she has long suppressed. At work, she maintains a facade, avoiding discussions about the protests while hearing derogatory comments regarding the Sami demonstrators. In these moments, she questions whether she can find belonging in either her professional life or her cultural identity. One evening, after a tiring day at the protest camp, a letter from her mother awaits her at home. Its contents are brief yet laden with disappointment. "This isn't our fight, Ester. We've worked hard to leave all that behind. Don't bring shame to our family." Ester stares at the letter, feeling the weight of generational shame and silence that has long silenced her people. Nonetheless, she realizes she cannot turn away from the fight. A week later, as protesters ready themselves for a peaceful march, Ester stands at the forefront. For the first time, she holds a Sami flag, its red, blue, green, and yellow colors billowing proudly in the wind as a potent symbol of her identity and the unity of her community. Mikael walks beside her, a look of pride in his eyes, and gently asks, "Are you ready?" In this moment, Ester embraces her heritage and the collective struggle of her people. Ester took a deep breath and nodded, ready to participate in the march that was marked by visible resistance. As they marched, townspeople lined the sidewalks, some jeering, while others observed with quiet curiosity. The police were a formidable presence, reinforcing the opposition from the authorities. Despite the palpable tension, the protesters, while chanting in their native language, felt united, their voices some ancient melody intertwining with the cold air. During the march, the protesters faced harsh insults from a group of young men, including derogatory terms like lazy reindeer herders and backward hill people. The words cut Ester deeply, igniting a surge of anger within her. However, Mikael, sensing her rising fury, squeezed her hand and encouraged her to remain dignified. "Let it go," he advised, reminding her that their fight was about maintaining honor. Days later, the situation escalated when the government issued an order for a forceful dismantling of the protest camp. The news spread rapidly, leaving Ester with a tough decision: stay and risk arrest or retreat to protect the fragile life she had built. Seeking guidance, she turned to the elders for solace, sharing stories of past struggles and hardships endured by their ancestors. One elderly woman, her skin weathered by the harsh climate, resonated with Ester's predicament, saying, "If we do not stand now, our children will never know who they are." The woman's words struck Ester profoundly, solidifying her resolve to remain with the protest. When the day of eviction dawned, the protesters united, forming a human chain around their camp. The police arrived equipped with shields and batons, amplifying the atmosphere of tension. As officers advanced toward them, Ester found herself confronting a young officer who mirrored her uncertainty. Standing firm, she stated, "We will not move. This is our land." The officer hesitated momentarily, bound by orders, but one by one, the protesters were forcibly removed, their chants echoing defiantly in the air. As the cold metal of handcuffs clamped around her wrists, Ester held her head high, certain of the righteousness of their cause. In the holding cell, alongside Mikal and other protesters, Ester found strength in their collective spirit. Despite their circumstances, someone began to sing, filling the small cell with the soft, powerful notes of a joyka song that symbolized resilience, identity, and hope, reminding them all of the strength derived from their heritage and collective belief. When Ester emerged into the frigid evening air after her release, she experienced a profound sense of liberation for the first time. Throughout her journey, she confronted her fears, acknowledged her Sami heritage, and committed herself to a cause larger than her own existence. Despite recognizing that her battle was far from over, she cast her gaze towards the distant mountains, resolute in her belief that both the river and the resilience of her people would persist. Ester's personal evolution throughout the film reflects the extensive political struggle of the Sami people. She wrestles with her sense of belonging and identity while observing the unwavering strength of her community. As tensions rise dramatically, Ester faces a crucial decision: to fully embrace her Sami identity and actively partake in the fight for their rights, even if it places her at significant personal risk. The film reaches a pivotal climax with a tense standoff between the protesters and law enforcement. This confrontation not only leads to arrests but also amplifies public awareness around the issues facing the Sami. Vowing to become an outspoken advocate for her people's rights, Ester recognizes that the struggle is not solely about the preservation of the river, it encapsulates the fight to safeguard a culture, a language, and a sustainable future for the Sami. As the narrative draws to a close, it adopts a contemplative tone, underscoring that, while the struggle to protect the Alta River signifies a crucial milestone, the broader battle for indigenous rights and acknowledgement remains ongoing. Ester fully accepts her heritage and unites with her community, collectively resolving to continue the fight for their ancestral land and cultural identity. Let the River Flow emerges as a moving and potent testament to resistance, self-identity, and the enduring fortitude of the Sami people. Through Ester's individual story, the film highlights the interconnectedness of personal transformation and communal activism, providing a heartfelt exploration of what it means to stand firm in the face of adversity. Ultimately, the story of Ester not only illustrates her path toward self-discovery and empowerment but also spotlights the ongoing plight of indigenous communities. The film urges viewers to consider the vital importance of culture, identity, and the relentless pursuit of justice in the historical context of indigenous resistance. In embodying her heritage, Ester becomes a symbol of hope and determination for her people, inspiring a collective fight that echoes with the strength and spirit of the Sami. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.